So I wanted to go live again today, and I hope that you all will be jumping in and joining me. But today I wanted to talk about SoJo. So I'm not going to keep you guys too long this evening because I actually need to like wash and condition my hair. I actually was going to try to wait to the end of my work week, which would be tomorrow, but she's ready. She's ready. So, but I wanted to jump on here and talk about SoJo. So tonight I did actually take down some notes because there were a few things that I wanted to make sure that I talked about in this live. I know that not everyone can jump on whenever someone goes live. So I wanted to make sure that I talked about a few things, and when people are watching it on the playback, it will be of some value. But so when we talk about SoJo, there are many sewists who talk about, oh, I got to get my SoJo bag, and it is something that you will go through whenever you are embarking on this sewing journey. And I've been sewing now for, I will say, consistently since 2011. So I did start back in high school, but I left it for quite a while. But I would say 2011 would be the mark of when I started back sewing again. And so SoJo is just something that will come in and out, and it's totally normal. So if you are a sewist that has lost their SoJo, just know that it's really normal. So SoJo is just basically when you don't have the drive or motivation to sew anything. So for me, I'm going to talk about some reasons why I lose my SoJo at times. So I live in Chicago, and it can get really cold. We have some brutal winter sometimes. I will say though, the last winter wasn't so bad. So I'm thankful for that. Every year that we don't have like a crazy blizzard where it's like shutting things down, I am thankful. Hey, Valerie, I see Valerie just popped in. And so for me, the winter time is where I would lose, like my SoJo. I still like creating things for like events. So, of course, like New Year's Eve, or like if I have a party or something to go to. My birthday is also in the wintertime in February. So I usually make things for my birthday, but my like day-to-day excitement to sew is not at its heightened state in the wintertime. It usually is more heightened in the spring and summer. Spring and summer, like I'm motivated by everything that's around me. So my SoJo isn't really a problem in the spring and summer, but for me, it is the winter time. Hi, Grace. So glad you can join me. So she said, yeah, for me, it's inspiration. So I'll talk about my inspiration. So for me, I love to follow Pinterest. Fashion girls, not just sewists, but just people fashion in general. I have some people that I follow on there. And then, of course, Pinterest is curated where pretty much when you start pinning things, it kind of fits to your like aesthetic or what you're into. Of course, your Instagrams. Of course, I follow sewists on YouTube, but I get inspiration from that. And then I also get inspiration from my surroundings. So again, spring and summer, like when I go out and if I go on walks and just seeing beautiful flowers, when the sun's shining, I'm like motivated. I get my inspiration from that. Also, when I would also say when I don't have like inspiration from outside sources, sometimes I'll just go through like my old makes or old pictures of things that I made. And that sometimes will shake me up to where I want to sew again, because then I'll look and say, oh, wow, I remember when I made that, and I'll maybe want to recreate it or try a different take on it. So that gives me inspiration. But I would say my main inspiration points would be like Pinterest and then Instagram. So another thing that gets me motivated, if I'm like my SoJo isn't there, is a trip to the fabric store. So I know like many other sewists, like we love fabric. And for me, it just gets ideas going. And a lot of times when I go to fabric stores, I don't really have plans. I know sometimes people could say that that can get you in trouble, and it does sometimes because we're just like hoarding fabric. But a lot of times I'll go to the fabric store and see a new fabric and say, oh my gosh, like I could imagine this in this dress, or I could imagine this being a skirt, or oh, this would be a really nice coat. So for me, a trip to the fabric store will definitely get those juices flowing. Also, shopping your stash. So again, a lot of us sewers, we do have a lot of fabric that we have in our sewing rooms or storage. Sometimes it takes, just going through your old fabric. Like I'll have things that I forgot about because I'm like rolling things up and sticking it away. And if I don't like go in my fabric bins or where I store my fabric, I'll forget that I have it. So I'll do that. Also to get more motivation. Yes, Grace said definitely. So yeah, for me, the motivation, I'll go to the fabric store and I'll find fabric that really makes me want to go. And then I'm also motivated by like events. So last year, I started making outfits to coordinate like with my boyfriend when we would go out. And so it's funny because I never thought I'd be one of those couples that like were matching. Like I used to actually make fun of my best friend because she would always dress alike with her husband. Not like custom outfits, but like colors maybe. But last year, when I started dating my boyfriend, like we started going to a bunch of different events and concerts and stuff like that. And I started making outfits to match him. So that's the joy of being able to sew. So like he just picks something out and then I go to the fabric store and find fabric to match. So we have quite a few coordinating outfits together. And I'm actually really excited to make him something to wear for Chicago Frock Tales. He's going to go with me and I'm going to do a dress, of course, for myself, but I have committed to at least making him a vest to match my dress. So he's down for it. And I don't really venture into sewing for others that much, but I do want us to be like together and look like a pair at Frocktail. So I'm really excited about that. So also, I'm going through my notes because I want to make sure. Oh, also, if you're feeling like you have lost your SoJo, pick up one of those TNTs, those tried and true patterns that you know you love and look good in. So I'm a sewist that will make things over and over again. Like I have no problem with that. At first, I used to kind of not feel bad, but I used to not share patterns that I made over and over again because I'm like, well, they've seen that already. They might not want to see it just because it's a different color or different fabric. But now I'm like, you know what? I love this dress or I love this shirt or whatever it is that I have made. I'm going to make it however many times that I want to make it. So if you're feeling like in a sewing rut, go back to something that you made that brought you joy, that you really loved. And sometimes that'll be something that'll jumpstart you to be able to actually like want to sew again. Also, I would say I don't want to say don't challenge yourself, but if you put so much pressure on yourself in your sewing journey, wanting to make sure that things are super technical or to a T or making sure everything's perfect, that can cause you to lose motivation or your SoJo because then you're not feeling like you are up to par as far as like, oh, you see some other sewists doing things that are leaps and bounds. And don't get me wrong, like there's sewists that I see that have been sewing for like 6 months to a year and they've done things that I haven't even done yet. And I've been sewing for over 10 years. However, I personally like to sew things that I know that I'm going to wear and not so much I'm sewing to just build all of these different like check marks off on my list to say, oh, I've done a zip fly. Oh, I've done the button front shirt. Oh, I've done, I've worked with faux leather or suede, or I've done like cargo pockets. So for me, I am less motivated when I try to be really regimented on just trying to check off lists. And I think that's probably why I talked in a live last week about how with my Make 9, I think because when I make rigid plans and then I change my mind, I feel like, oh man, it's not fun anymore. So like for me, sewing is all about having fun and creating things that I love. Let me read some comments. Yes, we want to see it because pattern changes with different fabrics. So true, because I'll make things, I'm a prints girl. Like I always love making things in prints, but sometimes just a solid fabric will really make things look, a bit different, more classic if it's just in a solid print and you're able to see lines. Like I love a nice dress with princess seams, but if I have a printed fabric, I'm not going to be able to see that as much, or it will kind of get lost. So sometimes it is better to use like a solid so that you can see the design in some garments. A quick, easy make builds confidence and gives you your SoJo back for sure. For sure. Like I said, pick up those tried and trues. Something that when you made last, it sparked joy in you. And then I want to talk about something else too. I used to have this issue too, wanting to make things for like a future body. So personally, I think it can be like bad on like our mental health if we're trying to like make things for like how we want to look. I feel like personally we should make things for the body we currently have and embrace the body we currently have, and not to not have goals, because we all have goals. Like I've said in a previous video that like I want to have my bag out this summer. I want to have, there's a certain things that I want to make, but I personally I'm not ready to wear them yet. Personally. So yes, I am aspiring to make those things, but make things that are going to make you feel good, because then you'll be more motivated to keep going in your sewing journey. So yeah, like I would say definitely find what you feel look good on you, like find your silhouettes. There's a bunch of different things that like I know I'm like, oh, that's cute. But for me, I know I don't really like how this shape looks on me, or this silhouette, or, you know what I mean? So you don't want to lose your SoJo because you're making things that maybe you feel, because it's all about how you feel. Because just because somebody says like, oh, maybe you shouldn't wear, it's not about what somebody else think you should wear. If you don't feel like you don't feel like if it's flattering, or if you don't feel comfortable in it, don't create it. And then now that's further damaging how you feel about how you look in something. So I would say make things that make you feel good and in your current state. And then the cool thing about us sewers is that, guess what? We can take things out. We can bring things in if we allow that with our sewing. So I would say definitely, be mindful of what we're making and make things that make us happy. So yeah, let me see if I have any more comments in here. And thanks so much, you guys, for joining in my live. Like I decided I wanted to go live again this Wednesday because it was so much fun. And then like I know that some people will catch this on the playback, and I just wanted to talk about it. But the main thing is just know, especially if you're a beginner sewist, just know that SoJo is something that definitely even seasoned sewers go through. Sometimes you just aren't in the mood, or just sometimes life is lifing, you know what I mean? And you don't have the time. But I'm sure you guys are familiar with Brittany J. Jones. She has a thing that she's done for years where it's like sewing in 30. If you feel like you don't have enough time, like set a 30-minute timer and just do something like to prep. Also, what helps with, your SoJo is not overwhelming yourself. So I kind of talked about that earlier, but like break things up. Like, don't make it to where you have to cut out your pattern, cut out your fabric, press it, wash it. Like, make sure that you're putting it in like, sections to where you're able to get it out. Now, if that's what you like to do, if you want to just do a marathon day of all of that, and that's fine with you, then go right ahead. But if you know that you get overwhelmed when you try to do too much at once, I would say definitely split it up. I definitely had to start doing that myself because I am kind of impatient when it comes to sewing. Like I think that's why I love knits so much, because for me, they come together so quickly and there's not a lot of fitting that I have to usually do for my knit garments. I can turn them around quickly. So when I started making things like out of woven fabric, I started to get like discouraged sometimes because it took way longer for fitting and just making sure everything was right. And then even finishing, like, so for knit garments, if you don't want to zigzag or overlock, you don't even have to. Like, if nobody's going to see the inside of your garment, and I've gotten better with that. Like, now I will overlock because I have an overlock machine. But a lot of my makes in the beginning, I would just make sure like my seams were enforced and they would not come loose in the wash or anything. So like those were extra steps that I had to take with woven fabrics that I didn't have to take with knit. So if you know for you personally that like you get overwhelmed with having to cut the pattern, press your fabric, do everything, like set it up to where it's in pieces. So now what I do is I'll pick a day where I cut out paper, like the paper patterns. I still haven't tried a PDF. I'm going to try one soon because actually now that I have a Ditto, they do have an option to like bring your PDFs into the Ditto. And by the way, you guys, I did actually put my measurements in the Ditto last night. So I still haven't like calibrated and did anything yet, but I'm gonna be doing that probably this weekend. I want to really start getting going on there. So, but yeah, I haven't tried a PDF pattern yet. So I don't even know like how my patience level is going to be with that yet. I know a lot of sewists say, you know, I just, turn on music or put on a show and like tape all my papers together. I have never done that. So I think my first PDF experience is going to be with the Ditto. I'm just going to give me a PDF pattern that I can download and upload it to there. So then at least I can project the pieces straight onto the projector. I'm hoping that it's going to be that simple and of a process. But yeah, so I'm definitely want to do that. So if I see there's 18 people in here, if you guys do have any recommendations for PDF patterns or like companies, let me know because I'm not familiar at all. I do know that Mood has like free PDFs that you can get, but let me know like if you've had success with certain PDF companies or indie pattern makers that I should try because I'm definitely wanting to, but I primarily sew like the big five and unless I'm like dropping a pattern on my own, which I used to do more of, but lately I've just been doing the big five patterns. Let me see. I have a few more comments in here. Okay. Hey girl, what part of Chicago are you on? Have it brand. I live in Chicago in the city on the north side of the city, but I was born and raised on the south side. So went to school on the south side, but I went away to school. I went to SIU in Carbondale. And then ever since I graduated college, I've been on the north side of the city and I love it. I love it here. My boyfriend he lives on the south side and we always go back and forth about south side, north side. But I love the north side. I raised my son in this area. I'm like in the Wrigley area. I love it. And she's from Naperville, by the way. Yeah, okay. Grace says she cuts separate days from sewing. Yeah. I mean, I sometimes, it depends. If it's a super simple one, like the dress that I just did, which was a new look maxi dress, it was a front and back. I cut that out and got that out the way. Like if it's like that, then definitely I can do that on one day, especially if it's an off day. But typically I'm prepping on nights that I work because I don't always get to sew after work, not because I don't have the time, but sometimes I'm just, after work, I just want to chill and not sew. So I'll just like be watching TV and cut out patterns. And then I'll sew. But like on a day off, like I can be all day in a sewing room. Like it is my happy place. So I can be cutting out, fabric and patterns. And then I also too, especially like if I find that it's a pattern that I really like, I'll cut two. Because I like to, and I don't know if you guys have seen like my pattern reviews, I sometimes, well, a lot of times did make two versions of like whatever I was reviewing because I like to have like a little bit of variation, especially too if I end up liking it. I'm like, yeah, I just did a simplicity, I believe that was simplicity cardigan, and I made two. I made a print and I made a solid. But yeah, I'll cut them out at the same time, and then especially too if they're like in the same colorways, like I have the Sewjo thread already on the machine. I can use the same thread. Like I try to make it more efficient when I'm sewing. Okay, she said, I just made that maxi. It's so good, Grace. Like, it's so simple. Like, I bought some pink fabric that I think I want to make a pink one, but now I think I want to try something else because I feel like I have all summer to make maxis. So I'm thinking I'm going to use the pink fabric that I just picked up for a Mother's Day dress. And I believe I want to use the Ditto projector for that. So I'm going to go through the patterns and see because I really just got to jump out there and start with the Ditto. Okay, she said, yes, I love it in my sewing room. Yes. Okay. Okay, yeah. So I think for sure I want to make Mother's Day dress out of the pink fabric that I got. Also, let me see. I think I went through everything. So yeah, I talked about my inspiration, Pinterest, Instagram, and of course, like your like fashion houses. Now, I per se don't. I will follow some trends, but I just like what I like. So also what I like. But because there's a lot of things that I see and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but like I don't think that I would wear that. Like I'm I'm 43, so like there's a lot of things that have come back around that I lived through, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make that. Like capris, like, are you guys gonna be wearing capris? Like they're back, like the actual capri, like the skinny capris that used to have like split on the side. Like I don't think I'm gonna do those. But I see a lot of people with them on, and I guess, but I don't know. I'm starting to feel now that I'm like how my mom used to say, like, we used to wear that back in the day or whatever. I'm feeling like that now. Like all of the 90s stuff is coming back around. But there are a few things that are trending that I want to sew. And I think I'm actually going to do a video on the channel just talking about some of the things that I want to sew um, that are trending right now that I want to recreate. Okay, it says tips on sewing knits, needles, tension. Love your videos. So the main thing for me is the needle. So a long time ago, like when I used to be sewing, I used to just use whatever needle for whatever I was doing, and I would not change them as frequently. So I would say ballpoint or stretch needle for sure for your knit fabrics. And then sometimes you do have to like interface some fabrics because they are thinner. Like for instance, icy white knits, they are thinner. And sometimes like some people use a walking foot. I usually don't use a walking foot, but I have sometimes placed paper underneath at the beginning of starting. And so it'll catch that and then continue as I go. If you don't have an overlock machine, I would say zigzag stitch or a lightning bolt stitch on your machine because you want to make sure that your seams don't pop. Let's see. Hi there. I plan on sewing that maxi dress as well. Yes, it's so good. It's so simple, you guys. And then I don't know if you guys had seen the pattern review that I did on that dress, but it does come with a neckband and an armband, but I didn't even use them. I probably would on a different type of fabric, but I used the ITY and it rolled so much. I was like, I don't need it. So you could do what you want, but it's so simple. It's such an easy dress. And I feel like it's one that you can knock out literally in an hour. Like it doesn't say that, you know how some of the patterns say like easy 1 hour dress. It doesn't say that, but it is. It literally is two side seams. You have a center back seam. You could, if you wanted to cheat, like you could put that on a fold too, but I like that it has a center back seam because if you need to fit it a little bit more along like your S curve, it's good. So yeah, for sure. Okay, she says Stitch Treasures. So is that a PDF company or an indie company? If you guys have any, like I said, leave them in here. And also too on the playback, like I had like people still watching the last live and leaving comments. So I love that. So if you guys know of any PDF companies, let me know, put them in the comment section so that I can look into them because I really want to jump out there because I've heard good things. It's just that for me, I have so many like big five patterns that I'm like, I'll just use the ones that I have. Okay, so are there any other questions inside the chat? We are almost, we're at 25 minutes. Again, thanks guys for jumping on my live. I appreciate you all. I'm not sure if I'll go live again next Wednesday, but if you guys have any topics or anything that you want to talk about, let me know. And I'd love to talk. I can talk all day. Okay, it says, I'm happy to catch your live. Thanks for sharing. Oh, I'm happy that you can make it as well. I'm a chatty patty. Like I told my boyfriend, like, I made some notes because, I can just start talking. And he's like, yeah. I could talk all day, especially about sewing and sewing inspiration. So yeah, just to recap, I was just talking about SoJo and how it comes in and out. If you're a beginner sewist, just know that it comes in and out, but sew things that you'll like, sew things that make you feel good, that you're confident in. If you have to go back to a tried and true, do that. Don't feel bad about recreating something you've already done. It worked. You know what I mean? It worked out and it was good. Make it in a different color, make it in a different length. Actually, I wore today, so today's May 1st. And I had May was not really on my radar, but I actually wore a skirt that I made last year. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll participate in this. So I am going to try to upload like a picture every day of whenever I'm wearing something. But because I do make a lot of my clothing, I try to shop. But when you've been sewing for so long, it's pretty hard like to just buy clothes because we're more critical. Like I'm turning things inside out. I'm like trying on things. There was like a cute vest in short set that I saw in Target. And it was cute, but like you could kind of see through it. The fabric wasn't the best. And I'm like, it's a gift and a curse because I'm like scoping out the quality of the fabric. And I'm like, I love the fit of it, but like this fabric isn't, doing what it needs to do. So I'm just like, I'm just going to make it myself, So that's the thing about us sewing. Okay, so it says, I'm going through that now. Yes, dang, I'm late. That's okay. I'm so glad you can jump in and you can watch the playback. I'm going to save them. Like, I don't foresee me not saving any of the lives whenever I go live on here so you guys can see them. Yeah, she said, I know that's right. Inspect everything. Yeah, I used to do that like when I first started sewing just to see how things were made. Like, I wanted to see, okay, how did they put this together? Like, how is this, you know what I mean? Like what type of fabric it was, like the contents of it, like how much elastic is in here because I like the way it stretched. So I'm like, okay, now I know I need at least like 5% spandex or whatever, you know what I mean? So I would do that, but yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Oh, I see a few people just joined and I'm wrapping up. But yeah, I'm so glad you guys joined us. We were just having a discussion about SoJo. If you guys have any other topics that you want to talk about on a live, let me know. And I don't mind because again, like I said, I'm a chatty patty. So I don't mind talking about them. And Wednesday has been good. Wednesday in the evening for me, but like it could be a different time. Or it could be a little bit later, but I do turn in pretty early because I work pretty early. But yeah, thanks so much, guys, for joining in. Again, PDF companies, leave them. Also, if you guys aren't following me on Instagram, it's the same as my channel, Shutoka J. Follow me over there because a lot of times I'll be sharing things in like real time whenever I am sewing or making things. I'll be showing like the process of making things or just even talking about what I'm, gonna be sewing soon. Or when I go to the fabric store, I went to the fabric store the other day. I'll share that on my story. So be looking out for that. And then the next video, I believe I am going to do a monthly makes of everything that I made in April. So that should be up this weekend, if not Saturday, Sunday. And then I'm gonna have to start getting ready for Chicago Frock Tales. I talked about it in the last live that I think I am going to take you guys on a journey with me as far as like trying to pick the pattern, trying to find my fabric, doing the mock-up. I am going to do that. I figure why not, and you guys can help me out in the process because I do think I want to challenge myself, even though I just talked about how don't do anything that's going to overwhelm you. I do want to challenge myself. And then again, like I said, I am going to be making a vest for my boyfriend. to match my dress. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, if you guys, everybody that's in here now, I'm sure is subscribed. That's why you guys got into the live. But if you are not, go ahead and subscribe so you guys can be along with that process. Frogtails is, well, Atlanta Frogtails is this weekend, and I'm so interested and ready to see all the makes there. But Chicago Frogtails is June 9th. So I think next week I'm going to start the process of narrowing it down because I don't want to wait until the week before to be finishing my dress. Although I know sometimes that's what us always do. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I have everything in place. So yeah, I will see you guys on the next one and stay tuned for those upcoming videos. Good night, everyone.